Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final day of the 2020 Summer Promotion Tournament. I'm Atlas. I am joined by LS. And today, one team is promoted to the LCK and the other is going home with no other opportunities to get into a promotion tournament ever again. This is the last one.
This is it. It's between SANDBOX versus SEORABEOL Gaming.
Yeah.
And SANDBOX looking pretty nice coming off the win of the last series yesterday.
Yeah, I think especially in their AD carry role. Root had one hell of a day yesterday on both his Ezreal and his Aphelios. He was absolutely extraordinary. I think if he keeps up that performance, I think SANDBOX are absolutely the favorites.
Yeah.
But SEORABEOL Gaming did manage to take down Griffin. It was a 2-1 series because in the first game they let Sword have Ornn. But outside of that, it felt like they really did have control of that one. But they got destroyed by Team Dynamics. Team Dynamics beat them in 26 minutes and then 23 minutes, much faster than Team Dynamics managed to 2-0 SANDBOX. So if we're thinking about within this one tournament, how, like, where these teams stand, theoretically, on paper, SANDBOX does look better. Yeah.
So here is the promotion series as it did unfold. Dynamics 2-0 SANDBOX at the very beginning. SEORABEOL ended up 2-1 in Griffin. Like you mentioned, Dynamics advanced yesterday with a very decisive and quick 2-0 victory in the winners match. And the losers match featured SANDBOX overcoming a draft kingdom in both of the games and just beating Griffin.
Yeah, this is one of the examples that you've spoken about many times of teams just being better on the day, right? It didn't have anything to do with the draft, really. I felt like Griffin did have exactly what they wanted in both games, and maybe it was the pressure. Not entirely sure what it was, but they were a shadow of their former selves and are no longer in the LCK. We had to wave goodbye yesterday. We did only getting 2 series with the team.
Yeah.
And of course, he was only on the team for about a week, so you could imagine that he must be pretty gutted with the fact that probably wanted to build up a little bit more synergy with this squad of very talented players. But Griffin aside, we do have to look forward, and SEORABEOL Gaming up against SANDBOX. These are the points of the match. The last promotion tournament in LCK history. You have to fight tooth and nail to survive. Absolutely. Entirely true. Of course, remember, guys, what is on the line is far more than just promotion for summer. This is also being able to get $2 million off your buy-in to the LCK for 2021 when franchising does hit. It just means that this tournament, a lot of the fans were saying, means more than Worlds. Like, it's insane the amount of money you get alleviated of.
Right. The amount of money riding on this match alone is so important for both of the teams. Now, obviously, players probably don't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter for them. But for the orgs, it is an entirely different series. SEORABEOL chose red side for game number 1, so we'll see how they utilize.
I like this next line. The what does Sungyun, the Thomas Edison of LoL, have in store? Yeah. He's going to, I don't know, invent some more light bulbs or something like that, I guess. I believe that was Thomas Edison. Was he the light bulb guy?
I believe so.
My electricity history memory's not great.
Franklin did the electricity thing.
And then he did the light bulb thing?
And then I think Edison did the light bulb.
Nice. Who did the telephone? No idea. Who cares? SEORABEOL Gaming, this is their lineup, the one that you have come to know and love. Tal, Kakao, Dan Chung there in the mid lane with Nova and Sungyun on the bottom side. And Summit on fleek, Fate, Root, and Gorilla for SANDBOX. Dove, nowhere in sight. The Peace Pigeon not going to be here this time around, and I wonder whether in this best-of-5 series there will be some substitutions, because we know that SANDBOX loves to go through all of their different players whenever they would like to, but what is outside of theme just a little bit is the fact that they have not made any substitutions throughout this promotion tournament. It feels like they have settled on this roster as we have a look at our key player. Now, Kakao was brilliant in day 1. Yeah. He was running rings around Tarzan that entire series, despite the fact that he did have that one loss. He was still, 50 CS ahead on his Olaf, power farming, Warrior Enchant in hand, Boots of Lucidity, 40% CDR with his Black Cleaver then completed. He was a lot of fun to watch. But then he seemed partially absent in yesterday's games, where he was just hanging around in brushes, standing on wards, and
he was
getting
sinning,
killed. He was
He
definitely
was
sinning.
absolutely sinning, and it ended up not being a good look
No.
yesterday. As another
This
key
was
player,
a good look.
This was a good look indeed. Root damage per minute 636 so far in the Summer Promotion series. And yeah, he's basically first in every stat except for KDA. And that just goes to show that he's a team player.
Yeah, 100%. You know, that's it's KDA. I wonder who has a bigger one than him, actually. That is interesting. Probably FaZe, who did have a pretty good promotion tournament as well. 2-0-2-0 generally boosts up that KDA quite high. As Kakao is the first one we're going to look at. Some smiles on his face as well. Very jovial team is this one. I feel like any team that has Kakao and Sangyun on it is just going to be a lot of smiles. That being said, Tal is very stoic on the top side of the map.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether SANDBOX are going to be able to overcome that. As Root on your screen right here, I'm looking at him because he was just extraordinary yesterday. Hard carrying his team. His Ezreal was unbelievable. There's that one team fight that still stands out in my mind, just managed to hit every ability and was very, very fun to watch. So we'll just have to keep our eye on him, see how he's going to go. SORABEOL Gaming here, Tal, you can see their colors, rice cake-esque.
Yep.
As is what they're named after. I believe the owners of the company have a rice cake shop called this, and that's why they have those colors. Very cute. Dan Chung there in the mid lane. He's got a few smiles on his face as well, and I'm looking to see more from him. I think that within Challenger's career, he had a good performance. But so far, we haven't really seen it outside of some decent team fights on his Galio and things like that. And yesterday really did beg some questions.
Yeah, and I mean, yesterday, a bit of a shaky game. Now, the thing that's most worrisome is that SORABEOL, they started off one of the games with a very big advantage.
Yeah, and they actually just threw it all away. It was very, very strange. Sort of like they were getting to the point that they needed to. LS over here has got something stuck in his throat, I think. It's not necessarily working out. We need to go and get him a tissue or something like that, and I think he will be all right there. As we're taking a little bit of time to get into pick and ban for game number 1, making sure that all of our settings are absolutely fine before we enter Champion Select. And both of these teams understand the amount of pressure that is on their shoulders. Gorilla had a little bit of a chat to him before today's matches, and he does seem quietly confident, but also felt like the tensions were definitely high. And we'll see whether he is going to retain his position here in the LCK after moving back from Misfits, jumped onto SANDBOX, felt like it was an upgrade over Old Man Joker, who has now moved into the coaching position. You can see standing behind, has his head cut off just a little bit at the moment, but he is standing behind SANDBOX Gaming, and LS is back, I think. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it feels like I inhaled like dust.
Yeah.
That's what it's, my throat is, feels like there's dust in it. I apologize, Atlas.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm
yeah.
happy to carry it through as long as you are not feeling unwell in any way. It did seem like it was a tickled throat rather than anything more serious. So you can keep your Monka W's to yourselves, everyone.
Likely safe.
Yeah, likely safe.
You know.
Or less sanitary. I'm not entirely sure which one it is at this point. As SANDBOX have already banned away both of Dan Chung's champions, and SORABEOL Gaming with a Jace ban up against Summit, and now thinking about what they want to take away next. The Aphelios, an understandable ban away from Root, who was so good on it yesterday. And Sangyun, of course, does like, you know, they said Thomas Edison in the points of the match. He does like to mix things up. So I think SORABEOL can ban away as many of the 80 carry pool as they would like. And I believe Sangyun will be absolutely fine. Set going to be the last ban here on SANDBOX's side, as SORABEOL will see what they do decide to get rid of. I think even an Ezreal ban makes some sense here, because just getting Root onto something different does make a lot of sense, as it is going to be the Olaf away from OnFleek. Certainly a lot of comfort there, but still so many power picks left available. We'll see where SANDBOX do decide to go. Trundle's up, so it's probably going to get picked, let's be real. I hate to say it. Oh no, Varus is available as well, so this certainly higher priority. I tell a lie. 4 seconds to go, and they do lock that one away.
Yeah, so Varus getting locked in on B1 for SANDBOX is a pretty good sign. Now, obviously, this is a champion that has multiple modes. Can go for the lethality Varus, or can go for the on-hit attack speed, or attack speed with crit. That is also another option, as SEORABEOL is going to go with the Misfortune.
Ooh, and this is the first...
And, okay, Elise.
It's the first time Elise has been let through for Kakao, actually. Of course, is a legacy Elise player, has been playing it for an extraordinarily long time, is now Gorilla on his third game of Sir Thomas Kench in a row. And we'll see whether it is Sir Thomas Kench or Timothy Kenchins as we move further forward in this series. 6 seconds to go before they make up their mind on the Catfish.
And
yep,
Tom
Gorilla
gets locked in?
didn't actually say too much there. He was like, yes, I know what I want. And Fate, we'll see whether he does decide to pick up something like his Zoe, but it looks like Summit's Aatrox is here. And did you bring the holy water this time? Obviously you didn't, because otherwise you would have drank it when you were about to die before. It's certainly...
There's an Aatrox and an Elise.
Did someone come and bless this desk before we started? Because I'm going to need to ward off the evil spirits, I think.
I believe that you're going to probably need to do that as well.
Oh, no.
Go ahead and maybe anoint that before you...
Yeah, that's true. I just opened my coffee. It was sealed, so it hasn't been infected by this draft yet, but I'm going to make sure that I keep putting the lid back on again after I take a swig.
This is the worrisome thing for SANDBOX, is that they draft full-on, aggro, all-in types of team compositions. We saw it yesterday against Griffin, and those were two drafts that they should have lost the game, especially because the game states were very stable for Griffin, and it was basically everything that they could have asked for. But SANDBOX basically managed to win a 4v5.
Yeah.
As the Lee Sin was not a super big non-factor.
Also, SANDBOX did get a lot of information yesterday. SEORABEOL Gaming also had some winning drafts and weren't actually able to utilize them. I think that the Camille draft certainly stands out as being basically the perfect point to pick up a split pusher and have her be in control of the game, but SEORABEOL just did not utilize it effectively, right? Yeah. They demonstrated that they weren't really able to play out that style. And so I think that the Aatrox pickup here is almost more intelligent because it shows that SANDBOX, they can do this and still be very happy because SEORABEOL don't look like they can pilot the split push all that effectively. As the Renekton and Yuumi are going to be banned away from SEORABEOL here, as the Akali and LeBlanc have been removed from Fate's wheelhouse. And I believe that is showing the hand of Dan Chung a little bit here, wanting to pilot the Pantheon in the mid lane, something that we've seen a lot, you know, pick your mid laner and then ban a couple of things away to make sure that it's as safe as possible.
I feel like the Pantheon's probably top lane because I think Pantheon would actually invite LeBlanc in and not be super worried about that. So I imagine that it's going to be Thal versus Summit.
And Dan Chung maybe saving some of his
counter pick for last.
Yeah, more interesting picks. This is a very understandable Zoe pickup here. Fate has been playing it a lot. It's not been the best Zoe that we've seen in the LCK, but unfortunately for him, we have probably some of the best Zoes in the world in our particular league. Chovy beat it East, certainly examples with Faker alongside them. Dove also. It's really interesting that SANDBOX are picking Zoe. They did it already for Fate, but I see Fate as more of that assassin player rather than the Zoe. Dove is a brilliant Zoe player and has been for a long time. OnFleek thinking about not as much of a sinful choice here, as the Sejuani is going to be locked in. And I think I could actually hear Tal in the background there. He has been very loud. Has a very deep voice. And so you can feel it permeating through your body. Is Dan Chung thinking about Victor?
So the thing about Victor is that if Victor would get locked in, it would have a lot of anti-synergy with the Elise, and then it would be off-theme with the team composition. As at Darius...
That is downright Darius once again for Tal. He's played this already. I'm not going to make any mistakes with... messing up which patch we're on. It's not back to Season 5, and so therefore that bleed is physical. But still, Darius is a scary champion, was nerfed on 10-7, but not nerfed out of existence or anything like that, and was nerfed because he was very strong, mostly in solo queue. So let's see what Tal's going to be able to get done here. His first game begged a lot, to be honest. And this is, we're fighting lack of faith with lack of faith over here, well, LS. It's feeling very sinful.
The thing is that SANDBOX actually has the more scale. They have more scaling, they have more insurance, but also the Aatrox is now sort of enabled in an interesting turn of events, ends up actually scaling against SEORABEOL's team composition because there's so many champions that have to come in on him.
Yeah.
And Varus is going to be sitting pretty. I imagine that this will be Lethality Varus with the Zoe.
Yeah.
To sort of take on the mantle that's very akin to Ezreal Zoe. And that's going to mean that SEORABEOL's team composition, it's all in. It is a sin to win. Pantheon Grand Skyfall, follow up by Darius flash ghosting in, Elise trying to follow up, and then Misfortune there with the ultimate to back up. If this team comp falls behind, it's lights out.
Oh yeah, it's over. The whole top side of the map doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's going to be terrifying. But if they can snowball, and they have so much enabling of their lanes with Cacaw's Cocoon coming out of the jungle. And remember, this champion has been banned away from this player this entire tournament. So let's find out why here in game number 1 of this best of 5 series for the final spot in the LCK. This is all or nothing for both of these teams. As our Fate skips his way into mid. Danchung, in the end, was the one piloting this Pantheon. Another one of these interesting compositions where Elise is the only source of magic damage. Does mean that she will be doing true damage around the mid-game, but also means that building armor is going to be very effective because Elise's damage doesn't necessarily scale as this game goes on.
Yep.
So, multiple reasons why SEORABEOL needs to win by approximately 17 minutes. Give or take.
Well, give or take. We'll have to pay attention to Cacao, as Darius has Celerity and Scorch.
Oh, baby.
So we'll see what he can end up doing here. He also has...
I love Nimbus Cloak with Ghost, though. Oh, no, he actually switched off the Ghost. Last time he did pick it up, but now going to be relying on flashing in, I guess, for that extra movement speed.
Yeah.
And then you can activate your Phase Rush and get a bit of extra movement speed there. Of course, Darius, one of the champions that is notoriously kiteable, and so wants to do as much as possible to mitigate that, and Phase Rush and Nimbus Cloak certainly going to help out there. But the Ghost would have also been very, very strong.
Cacao with a solo red start, as OnFleek already has cleared up his red. Summit gonna push in the top side, and we take a look at all of the runes. And you can see Zoe and Varus both have Scorch taken. So we'll see what happens here between these two top laners, as Summit is going to be pretty hard.
Oh, man. It's
for Thal to do anything against.
Yeah, and Summit's already, like, his movement in this lane has been very frustrating for Tal, who does finally find an apprehend. Not really going to get too much else out of that is Summit, as he misses a couple of his Qs. So far, the trades have been fine. Both of these top laners with a fair bit of sustain option as far as getting all that extra health back from your Q. In Darius' case, and Summit just in general, having lifesteal up the wazoo, part of his kit. So it will be likely a lot of biffo, but we'll see whether it is going to ever be kill threat, because it will mean that keeping health bars high is going to be important, because if you can't hit minions or champions as both of these pickups, then it is far more difficult to get in and utilize all of that extra regen. So it's going to be interesting how this lane plays out, as Tal winning out on that trade quite nicely. Another apprehend comes in, and Summit just straight up losing out and will bleed out as well, meaning that trade is even better.
Doesn't look like Cacao saw OnFleek.
Oh, there's a stun onto Fate. He had picked up a heal already, as the Q is going to go wide. Fate just finds himself a little bit of extra damage there, as Cacao in full vision. Fate's going to move on back. They decide not to go aggressive in this circumstance.
Okay, well, OnFleek is now going to have...
Well, that is a very comfortable sidestep there from Fate. Still putting pressure down is Cacao. And no Scuttle Crabs for the Piggy.
And SEORABEOL, they end up getting both Scuttle Crabs. The Sejuani is, interestingly enough, now behind in this game to the Elise ever so slightly. And you can see Kakao is moving up to top lane. There's no actual gank here, unless Aatrox would mess up.
Yeah, or an Apprehend is very heroic, as Infernal Chains are going to work out. But you can see Summit playing pretty intelligently and not biting off more than he can chew, especially with the amount of minions that are stacked up.
Now this is pretty nice. Danchung's going to convert his collapse here into top lane. Summit does have flash available.
Yeah,
and
good Umbral Dash.
Yeah.
But this is a whole lot of minions that are now going to go to waste.
Yep.
As Zoe's going to have to transition over. There's a cannon minion tanking up this wave. So if Summit can get back there, it is certainly going to be important as Fate throws out the bubble, finds Danchung with it, but Kakao is looking for a cocoon. You can see Summit gets back into experience range as another minion wave crashes. And now he's going to finally flash out. Already some very low health bars here as Danchung is tanking up the turret. He has to flash as Kakao down very low, and he's going to be taken out. First blood goes over to SANDBOX, and what a turnaround. Now Tile's going to be in trouble. There's the Arctic Assault is available, but OnFleek not wanting to flash for it or anything like that. Didn't think they had the follow-up damage. And SANDBOX, they take everything.
And this is really catastrophic because the roam, it looked really good in the sense that Summit on Aatrox was losing a lot of XP, losing a lot of CS. The flip side is that Pantheon likewise was losing it all in mid lane in order to make that play happen. However, Elise, being the sinner that she is, neglected all of the camps to try to make this play happen. And meanwhile, OnFleek ends up getting 3 camps during this time, eventually arrives up to top lane. So take a look at the flash. Kakao not quite able to get the damage onto the Aatrox. And Darius could have flashed in order to get the kill onto Aatrox, but then he would go down himself.
Yeah.
So SANDBOX coaching staff very relieved.
There's a very happy Joker in that booth, absolutely. As yeah, I don't think they're not praying to anyone right now, not with this draft. But things are certainly working out for them. So they're thinking someone. Danchung is going to clear out this minion wave. OnFleek takes some popcorn chicken. And Gorilla over here. Just looking to clear out vision where he can. Another Rift Scuttler has spawned. Nova in position. But Gorilla's also here. There's going to be Devours. There's going to be lots of ways to clear this one up. And Sejuani always historically has been just the best at taking Rift Scuttlers. All of the CC that you have available to you. Fate pushing things back here in this mid lane. Danchung behind by a lot of farm.
And, well, SANDBOX is feeling pretty comfortable right now. They have a 1,500 gold lead at 7 minutes against a team composition that needs to be ahead.
Yeah.
So this is where a lot of the problems are going to lie. I don't know what Nova is doing right now. That's not a trade that you ever want to take.
Good flash. But the fact that he had to flash is real bad. So it's it's not what you want to be doing. That was definitely overly aggressive.
Yeah. Opposite of what is good.
Your antonym work is just getting better and better every day.
Thank you. I really do put a lot of work into it.
I know, I've noticed. I just want you to understand that your work is appreciated, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
First turret plate goes over to Root there on the bottom side. Quite early here in this game, 7.5 minutes, as Kakao comes back up top lane. Control Ward spots him out, OnFleek steals away his blue buff. And Fate is even going to be able to easily come over here and pick that one up. Not too many sparkles required in order to lock that one down, as the Trouble Bubble does go wide. And Paddlestar not going to find Danchung. And Kakao's still hanging around here as there's the ulti, just trying to soften up the Aatrox. Grand Skyfall comes in as it's not going to be enough to get him out of the way. So, the second time of asking, SEORABEOL are able to lock down the kill onto Summit. But at what cost is the question. They have sacrificed almost everything to get 1 kill on Summit.
Yep. They rotate 3 members up into top lane. They lose an entire minion wave mid, and they lose a turret plate. On the flip side, it looks like they're going to be able to get a turret plate. However, Danchung is not long for this one.
Yeah, poor little Pantheon. He has no flash available on Fleek. He can just queue in easily Grabs that knock up. He's still
would
sitting on his
TP?
ultimate. They're trying to give this kill
What?
over to Summit, but they don't
Hello?
manage to do so. As Tal's TP was certainly very odd as the Winter's Wrath comes in. Gorilla will be able to find a Devour. Spits out the Darius where he sees fit, and Tal is certainly going to fall down that one. Hand delivered over to Summit. And yes, a few question marks just coming out of your skull right now, LS.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that play?
Well, I felt absolutely exquisite while I was watching it. So I have never been so delighted in my life.
The
As-
antonyms, dude.
I really liked when the Elise was about 6 centimeters away from the Pantheon, and then the teleport came in.
Yeah.
That one really tickled me. So SEORABEOL is hemorrhaging right now in this game. I almost want to call it here because they have a Pantheon, Darius, and Elise that are all really, really far behind. One might argue that Darius isn't really that far behind, given that he has a CS advantage. He has 2 plates inside of him. But this is a champion that needs to be a heading goal. You can't just be even.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at how this all transpired. Summit goes for a trade. You can see Cacao waiting in the wings. Grand Skyfall comes in from the Pantheon, who very easily just corrals the Aatrox into the Elise. And then right here, Thal recalls, Danchung stays because he greeted for the turret plate. Now, they had full knowledge that Summit was here and that Elise was here. And the thing that is so peculiar about this is that even without the Tahm Kench being here, the Elise has no mana. She's not going to be able to do anything. So you would just be running for the hills regardless, and here we go.
Yeah, speaking of running to the hills, on Fleek looking for this first kill. It is going to be Root that locks down the Thresh. He's going to try and run away as Gorilla goes golden. Cacao down here, very low. Danchung made his way in, flashes, grabs the Catfish as Root is also going to flash away. But is this once again just the demise of the Pantheon? Permafrost comes in, he's down very low. Still 500 health to work with, but that goes very, very quickly. And Cacao now trying to run away. Fate, that is a hijacked... oh my god, just brilliant. As Sangyun going to be the next one. On Fleek missing his ultimate entirely, but the explosion damage of it afterwards was calculated, and they're able to kill Cacao here. And I think SORABEOL understand that this game is over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this one is not going to be possible to bring back, because the only insurance policy, I said in the pick band that there really isn't one. It's the misfortune. And the only way that she can bring this game back is if somehow, some way, the Aatrox, Sejuani, Zoe, Varus, and Tom decide to group up as 5 and turn their monitors off. So it's definitely an interesting series of events for Misfortune to get value out of her ultimate. And just take a look at how this transpires. They try to set up a gank again, but On Fleek is on time. As the teleport coming in from Danchung on the Pantheon, On Fleek able to flash to safety. Danchung decides to turn it back around to get a kill, because he probably thinks, like, no, we can't just back off here with nothing happening. That would be a massive loss for us. But then Fate able to come in, introduce Pantheon to 200 years.
Yeah. Fate is indeed a fickle friend. As Sangyun does eventually flash as the ulti is mistimed, but look at this calculation. The explosion damage, I've never seen that kill someone, I don't think. I think that might have been the first time. 3-man play here from Nova, does go golden as well, as there's the man drop from Danchung, but he has no health bar. Oh my god, just gets exploded. The first kill does go over to the Darius as Summit is very low. Cloud Drake still being aggroed here, as you can see Root on the backline trying to land these arrows. SORABEOL are going to be able to lock down their second Drake of the game. Mountain Soul is coming in. Another bubble from Fate is going to land. Portal Jump comes down as Nova does manage to land the hook. That was really cute, but the Elise is just dead because Piercing Arrow is one hell of an ability. There's bullet time from Sangyun, but unfortunately they just don't have anything else. And this gold lead is approaching 7,000, and SANDBOX even want more.
Yeah.
Nova is in so much trouble right now. Oh, the ulti's going to get the slow, good sidestep, but it's not enough. This SANDBOX roster are just cutting down SORABEOL where they stand.
And, I mean, this game is just busted so wide open. It's almost a 10,000 gold lead. Now, SORABEOL does have 2 dragons, so if they could somehow make it to the Mountain Soul, that would mean they would live about 6 seconds longer in the team fight. So,
yeah.
An absolute unfortunate situation here for them here in game number 1. as Pantheon trying to do his best, tanking up a lot of time with that E. This is where Zoe and Varus really flourish, is in these hyper-extended team fights where they're able to just keep sending paddle stars and arrows out. It was a nice attempt by Nova to try to save his teammate's life. Thal had flash here, should have already gone over the wall.
Yeah.
But really greeting, and I really thought that bubble was going to hit onto Songyun, and that could have just been the ace. But then right here on fleek.
Oh, that was so close.
Yep.
Nova did the best that he could there in that particular instance, but it does just feel like SORABEOL's composition are just way too far behind.
Yes.
Against a comp that is very happy fighting at this stage of the game. It's so funny that SORABEOL sinned so hard in the draft that it's turned SANDBOX's comp into a scaling draft.
Yes.
It's just insane. I didn't think any team would be capable of doing that to a SANDBOX draft.
Well, meanwhile, in this game, 7,000 gold advantage for SANDBOX at 14 minutes. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah, it's in a game like this, I think you're hoping for the unanimous vote of 15 minutes. You know? That doesn't happen here in professional play as Summit. Possibly just going to face check Kakao here, but Gorilla is around, and Summit very happy just to fight this one out. That is just the, flash necessary. I don't know what that repel was doing, but there was no dragon to fall down on in that pit. So that is no flash on the Elise. Scoreline's definitely not looking so good here for SORABEOL. The Songyun is at least able to pick up some farm this game, but this is, not exactly the day for the Misfortune to carry, because the rest of her team doesn't really exist at this stage.
And MF is going, well, we don't know what she's going to go for her next item, but does already have the Essence Reaver. Going to be a while until Songyun can get the second item. Fate going to try to live here. Nice ultimate by Sedge.
Yep, that's just going to disengage. Fate actually Captain Jack cleansing without needing to cleanse. That was pretty cute though. Bubble is going to land, but no vision. Not wanting to go too aggressive as Fate just comes over, helps lock down Shirley. And Gorilla's going to come in as well, so this should be easily taken by SANDBOX. And SANDBOX probably know by now that this is going to be a very elementary game, just wishing that there was a Baron available to take. But it's 4 minutes until he even spawns on the map. And what was I talking about earlier in the game? It was approximately 17 minutes that SORABEOL need to get an advantage. So we're going to need a 20,000 gold swing within a minute's time.
And I really feel like Zoe and Gengar would have a lot of synergy, given that he has Dream Eater.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I was just thinking about that. What a fantastic trainer she might even be.
I was going to say, was Hypnosis's accuracy nerfed or buffed in the recent Pokemon?
I mean, this game it looks like it has a pretty good hit rate, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you can hit Fisher twice in a row. And maybe that's what SANDBOX have done in this particular game.
SORABEOL used splashes, looking like, you know.
SANDBOX's Horn Drill was pretty strong at this stage. Hey, but maybe we'll get that Gyarados evolution as this series goes on. That is another Pokemon name that a lot of people don't necessarily agree on when it comes to pronunciation. And we often talk about pronunciation. I think it's Gyarados, but like...
Do people say Gyarados?
Yeah, people do say... I mean, there's a Y in there, right?
Say it with me.
Gyarados.
Atrox.
Atrox.
Aatrox, here we go.
Flash play as Gorilla is going to get out with his cleanse. Bullet time does basically nothing as SANDBOX get themselves to safety. Now looking for the re-engages. Nova extremely low on fleek, nails the ultimate. It's Kakao in so much trouble. Summit grabs that kill. My God, the damage out of this Varus is insane. This game is well and truly over as SANDBOX are continuing to style.
Oh, man.
It's just fight attempts after fight attempts here from SORABEOL because they know that their comp does nothing else. They have to try and do it and hope for a miracle. And instead, Shirley is going to ruin everything that they hold dear. This Mountain Drake is going to deny Soul Point from SORABEOL. They were lucky to get those first 2 Drakes, but now the tankiness is just going to build and build and build.
And so here's the thing. SORABEOL is randomly grouped in mid lane. They know that they have to try to take a team fight. And MF, if it was a different world and she was a little bit more further forward, it would be a nice R for her, but there's no way that they can ever win a team fight. There's legitimately no possible way.
No.
Even a 4v5, I think SANDBOX would win.
Yeah, I mean, there are 3v5s that they still win.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Yep. Root going to be able to clear out this minion wave very easily. He is a very accelerated Varus who hasn't really had to do anything this game. As you can see, total damage dealt. Certainly a lot by the Varus. But Fate has had all of the control from this mid lane. And it's because he was gifted a free lane, basically. Dan Chung heading towards topside, wasting a lot of time trying to take down Summit.
He didn't kill the ward, which is really surprising. Nine. Okay. So ends up getting it with the Umbral Glaive. As, you know, it's been a while. Zoe picked up Morello. I need you to tell me where the healing is. On SEORABEOL.
The W from Elise.
Too late. This is going on Instagram.
Q from Darius. Sangyun's life steal that he may have built up with the lifeline rune as Tal is going to get the flash out of Summit. Nicely done here. Sangyun does have cleanse, so summon a heal, not going to be one of those healing options. Conqueror?
Not sure these are.
Corrupting potion?
And the other thing is that a lot of the healing on the side of SEORABEOL, even if you want to argue it, which I think at this point, it's so negligible, right?
It also doesn't really matter,
healing.
right? You may as well finish the Morello because you're probably going to win the game in the next couple of minutes. And
yeah, they are
slot efficiency is going to be important at that stage. So just wants as much power now. But yes, certainly not exactly the game where yeah, Morello's going to give you all that much power.
And Mountain Dragon's coming up in 3 minutes if SANDBOX do want to get it. And it's 13-3 right now. 10,000 gold lead, almost 10,500. As SEORABEOL, they're not just giving up though and throwing everything away. But now they're going to be in a poke fest. It's not Ezreal Zoe, it's Zoe Varus this time around. So
yeah,
a
little
lot
bit longer
more
range
reach than Ezreal, but
God.
less mobility. That's the one trade-off. So it packs a bigger punch, but it costs a little bit more.
True.
For a TCG fan.
Bubble is going to land there on to Nova. The Raptor camp is going to spawn at exactly the right time.
Game's like a NASA sleep study.
It really is. It's, yeah. I don't know. The will to go on is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
This stage. But SEORABEOL are at least sticking with it for the moment. 10.5 going to be that lead as the Baron finally spawns on the map. Fate is just going to look to kill Dan Chung. Does not find the Paddle Star. I don't think that would have killed anyway. Didn't quite have the range on it. Summit is looking for the Rift Scuttler. Will be able to take that one very, very simply. And he's very close to his death stance. But talking about item completions isn't super relevant just because of how far ahead SANDBOX are. You can see Dan Chung level 11 to Fate's level 13. Tal is within touching distance to Summit. Will equalize relatively soon if he can get to another minion wave. But Sangyun is a level behind as well. And this is just pretty outrageous when it comes to the advantages that are being picked up here by SANDBOX. 6-0-4 for Fate's Zoe. And I'm starting to become a believer. I'm starting to understand why we haven't seen Dove. As Fate is playing very, very well. Ulti going to fly completely wide. Root still holds on to his Chains of Corruption as he teleports into the mid lane though, so they will be able to utilize that if they want to lock down the members of SEORABEOL.
Yep. And Varus just going to shove in. He has Edge of Night, Yumu's, and Umbral Glaive, so 3 lethality items are completed.
Doesn't land the piercing arrow though. Wants to be softening up the members of SEORABEOL before they do go in. Although I guess they can just go in whenever they want to. A couple of Aegises of the Legion. Aegis of the Legion. Depending on how you want to pronounce it. I've always said Aegis. As SANDBOX push in on this inner turret bottom side of the map. Trouble Bubble goes wide, but Tal's down to half health, and SANDBOX not going to see too much resistance here at this turret. The last inner is going to fall. 7 turrets to 0 thus far. It's 12,000 gold is the lead. And we're just going to take Mountain Drake, because why not, you know?
And they're playing this very safe and reserved. They could be sieging with Zoe Varus, but perhaps not wanting to have any sort of variance plays. I'm not totally certain on what the overly cautious play is, because especially SANDBOX isn't even known for this. And
Yeah.
you know, maybe they're thinking that they've lost so many games by being reckless and overly aggressive that they want to play just a little bit more reserved this time around.
I appreciate it. As OnFleek has more money than anyone other than Sang-Yoon now, but he's very, very close to that one as well. And when a jungler is that far ahead of everyone on the other side of the map, it is certainly a good news story. You are the team with said jungler. Summit still trying to do what he can here. Does have his Death Dance now completed, but Darius is, with Trinity Force in hand, he's still scary. And does now have a stopwatch also. Jerem's Fist there, giving him a little bit more of those resistances. Sorry, a little bit more of that extra health. Scales quite nicely. Kakao, irrelevant at this point in the game. Hate to say it, but he's got his Boots of Lucidity and an Oblivion Orb, but he needed these items about 8 minutes ago. And unfortunately, Elise, very feast or famine. As SANDBOX clear out vision. I wonder whether they'll find this ward. Yeah, they will.
Well, 3.5 minutes until yet another Mountain Dragon comes up. And it's very... Okay, now it really is getting a bit bewildering. They have the Zanyas. They have Warmogs on Sejuani.
Ow.
And, okay, Thresh is dead. Gonna have to flash away.
Yeah, bubble lands as Fate looks for it. Doesn't get it. Dan Chung is going to be able to mitigate that damage. This bubble, once again, going to go wide on Fleek. Should be able to find an ulti here, but decides not to go for it, actually. Cocoon lands, does 0 damage to on Fleek. Now Sang-Yoon's trying to get in. Does have to immediately cleanse, though, as he takes the Lantern to safety. Ulti does come down. Hook lands from Nova, but he's already very, very low. Kakao also is going to get bubbled. Meanwhile, on the back line, Dan Chung trying to do something, but unfortunately, he just doesn't have the gold for it. Tal can't even get into this fight either. He's actually blocked off by that Trouble Bubble as Abyssal Voyage will get Gorilla on top of the Darius. And Dan Chung eventually is taken down by Zoe. This could be the in that SANDBOX have been looking for.
Well, they certainly should be able to raise an inhibitor at the very least. I think it's going to really depend on what SEORABEOL ends up trying to do.
Somehow Sang-Yoon still hasn't died this game, so
yeah.
See whether he's going to be able to keep onto that KDA as this game continues. Now just trying to clear out the minion wave as this inhibitor is falling in mid lane. 2 inhibs. Off the back of that team fight is Kakao down to half health before he can really do anything. Has to pop his stopwatch very, very early. Chains of Corruption are going to lock down Sang-Yoon, but he does get out of that one. Trying to get damage onto OnFleek, but he's very tanky. Summit also not going to take too much. They just clean up the Elise. But here's going to be the flanking play. Teleport in from Dan Chung. Immediately he gets exhausted. Apprehend onto Summit in the backline as Dan Chung takes the Lantern to safety. SANDBOX quite low when it comes to the health bars, so it doesn't look like they're going to turn straight onto the Baron. But it really does feel like their wallets are too heavy.
And let's just take a look at how this game transpired. Or this team fight anyway. Grand Skyfall comes in, teleport on Tal, but Fate had a spare flash available. Flashes away from Tal, ends up wiggling with him a little bit. Tal flashes forward, tries to get all the stacks onto the Zoe so that he could cast his ultimate. Dan Chung actually ends up wasting his stopwatch. There's nothing to achieve there, just delaying the inevitable death. And then here, Kakao lands a Cocoon, but it's onto Sir Thomas Kench.
Yeah.
It's not the best target. Piercing Arrow comes forward. OnFleek does not move to give Elise anywhere else to come down from her rappel. And here it does look like Thresh is, or Tal.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
Sometimes you just feel like bubbles. It's Finding Nemo at the moment. Adorable movie. Absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
I thought about Finding Nemo for quite some time.
She just pitched, that was a strike.
Yeah, it was.
That was good.
Got to get it through them posts. As SEORABEOL, we aren't going to find the hook as the bubble connects onto Sang-Yoon. Oh my god, the damage from the Piercing Arrow Nova. Going to be the sacrificial lamb here as Sang-Yoon holds on to that KDA. Kakao down very low. just off the back of one piercing arrow, as the last inhibitor is going to be the target. Looks like SANDBOX, they don't even want to go for a Baron play. They're just going to cut down all of these inhibitors and rely on super minions to help win them the game. OnFleek is so tanky. Even Fate sitting on an extra flash right now as Sungyun gets chunked by a paddle star. There's the Grand Skyfall as Danchung is just going to donate himself. It's Oxfam delivery system here for the Pantheon as Kakao gets knocked up. Summit dives forward. He's looking for Sungyun to try and grab his first death of the series. Kakao's going to fall down though, and now the Nexus is exposed. Oh. Summit's going to take down Tal. Sungyun still on this mountain, still undying as the Hanwha life flares are coming down. Sungyun's at full health, but the Nexus is going to explode, and SANDBOX will bring out the flares and take down game number 1 very, very comfortably.
And they did so in extremely dominating fashion, and it looks like that was the Zoe and Varus show, judging by Summit's post-game damage breakdown stream.
Yeah.
As SEORABEOL, they are getting stomped in their last 3 games.
Yeah, it feels like day 1 was the only real day that they were able to show up. And
yeah.
I felt like they did play very well against Griffin, the team that we were expecting to promote more than SANDBOX, to be honest. Considering their form in the last few weeks of the LCK in comparison to what SANDBOX were able to do. So this is certainly a SANDBOX that have rallied since then, and there's no better way to get yourself momentum than to win a couple of games. And yesterday they were very, very dominant. And now, even in game number 1, this momentum is something that they should be able to utilize to win this series. And SEORABEOL's going to have to try and knock it down a peg if they can. And I feel like if Danchung doesn't get the Syndra or the Galio, he's a very different player. That Pantheon was not good. The Elise also not working out. You understood what their game plan was. It's camp Summit and make sure that they can get advantages. But when that dive didn't work first, felt like the game was just done.
The really bizarre thing is that they went Thresh R4 after Pantheon R3, right?
Yeah.
It was Pantheon R3 after they opened R1, R2, MF Elise. So those 2 champions are already going to be off theme with one another. Thresh R4 into Tahm Kench, handshaking for reasons unknown, especially when you know that the Varus is going to be lethality. And then they pivot R5, a Darius to counter Aatrox in top, even though Pantheon can just go top lane. They could have countered the Zoe. But really bizarre because they threw Pantheon to the Wolves against Zoe.
Yeah.
It's a matchup we've seen many times in the LCK. Not a good look. And like you were mentioning, and like I would mention many times, they have like 12 minutes to win the game. Because even with a 3,000-4,000 gold lead, they still can't siege, they can't push, they need Dragon Soul to end games, or they need Baron, but their team comp can't do Baron super easily against Varus Zoe. So it was a bit of a hot mess.
And this was just so disappointing. Kakao just gets cut down. First blood goes to the champion in the mid lane that was then able to absolutely carry. And this, they were finally able to take down the Aatrox, but it was too little too late at this stage. And even then, the counter gank comes through. And even Summit was able to get back and get some of that gold also. No assist on this particular kill, but the next... Oh, actually was able to get one here. And then Tal also donating himself away. But it did really feel like SEORABEOL knew that the game wasn't in a state that felt winnable to them after the initial dive had failed. It's one of those compositions that really requires you to be successful in this early game, and they certainly were not.
They just fell super far behind. They tried to make some things happen. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're Sungyun, not only did you not die, you had the Prestige Edition skin.
Yeah, precisely. So, and that's probably why he didn't die as well.
Right. And if you want to have a performance like that one, maybe pick up a Prestige Edition
You can hop into the store. It's right there in the client.
Results may vary.
Yeah, they may. But they're not likely to. It's most likely going to be a victory. Is the first time that I've seen the explosion damage of a Glacial Prison kill someone. That's certainly cool. And this was... The rest of these highlights are really hard to watch. As SEORABEOL actually just had no way of winning teamfights in any way, shape, or form. It was probably one of the earliest 10,000 gold leads that we've seen for a really long time. Struck at about 16 minutes into the game. As hooking someone after the portal jump, not exactly going to be helping out here as Fate cycling through so many different on-use items. and Summoner Spells. His Zoe was fantastic this series.
And I think the Zoe Varus is going to be really problematic for SEORABEOL to handle, especially because there's other variations of it. It's not just Zoe Varus, it's also Zoe Ezreal.
Yeah.
Is the same kind of team composition that is very obnoxious to actually beat. So, this is going to be really awkward.
Well, we'll just have to see what changes when it comes to which bans do come out. SEORABEOL do have now a lot of options as far as getting rid of things like the Zoe, things like the Varus. Varus should be banned every game anyway. He's extraordinarily strong. Certainly was a fantastic first pick option for SANDBOX, just with how flexible he is as well. Fits into so many different styles of team composition. But this was just a tale of comfort for SANDBOX, and SEORABEOL finding, I guess, a comp that they wanted, but not one that they were able to actually pilot effectively. It's just so hard when, in a game like this, which is such high pressure, having a look at the damage here, oh my god, just insane. But when the onus is on you to make things happen, we speak about this all the time. Mentality does come into it, and the psychology of being the first one to have to move in a game that's such high pressure is really, really hard.
Yeah.
So I think scaling options, the T1 approach, is definitely good when it comes to early games in series. Of course, game one is the least pressure of the matches in the series, but now that they are on the back foot, it is going to be difficult for SEORABEOL to find their way back in. But they still have 2 games to do so. We'll see whether they can. We are going to go to a short break, guys. SANDBOX looking extraordinarily dominant to see whether they can close out the series or whether SEORABEOL fight back after the break.